Chelsea beat Spurs by 1-0. Who saw this coming? Actually, we all saw this coming, right? But how did Maresca manage to win this game? Let's start with Chelsea in attack. If you look at Chelsea in attack, you had a back three which included the two centre backs and Marc Cucurella. So Cucurella will be the part of the back three. In fact, you could call it a back four because the goalkeeper is also there. And then you have the two wingers in Sancho and Neto pushing all the way up, and in them pushing all the way up, that then allows Enzo Fernandez to then push up and be in that pocket and form a double 10 with Cole Palmer. In that space that he vacates because he plays alongside Moises Caicedo, then you have Malo Gusto moving into that space, forming a double pivot with Moises Caicedo. And then Spurs would start pressing them. And then the brilliance of Cole Palmer comes in because now he has to make a move to the side where there is the ball, in which case he would either be followed by Jet Spence on the right, in which case then that means the other central midfielder, defensive midfielder, which was Bentancur, would have to cover for him. If it didn't cover for him, then it would be Bentancur following Palmer, which then leaves a huge space in midfield, and then you'll have Sancho being 1v1 with Spence. Problems. But Spurs were very wise to this. If they were not quick enough to close them down when these movements were happening, what they would just do, they would just foul them and make sure that they are not going forward. So the other thing that we need to see in this graphic is the fact that one thing that was happening is that on the left hand side, that is where Spurs were being attacked, on their right hand side rather, because Sancho was carrying the ball. The problem is he became way too predictable because all the time was trying to cut in and take a shot and it didn't work. However, there was something that was a warning shot from the beginning of the game. And it's the fact that while everyone is engaged in the pressing on the right hand side and trying to stop Chelsea progressing, Enzo Fernandez was just casually on his own in midfield, and most of the times when he got the ball, he was free, even around the box. And this is how he actually ended up getting his goal. Because from as early as the 6th minute, you will see that Spurs were failing to clear not just the first ball, but sometimes the second ball, sometimes the third ball. And because of that, they ended up conceding the goals, because it's not just one warning, it's a lot of warnings that happened. And even before the goal, just before they conceded a goal, it's the same thing. They failed to clear their lines, and then the problem is now they end up conceding a goal because they are slipping. We also need to look at how Chelsea were set up when they were attacking in the final third. The wingers occupying the white spaces, and then you have the striker Jackson holding the defenders, pinning them back, and then in the half spaces then you have Palmer as well as Enzo Fernandez. But Enzo Fernandez, unlike Palmer, he wasn't trying to get forward as quickly as possible, but what he would do, he was just carefully holding his run and watching what the Spurs defenders were doing, because it's either the winger has the ball and then Enzo Fernandez would then be able to pounce on the ball or make a late run into the box. We have to also look at how Spurs were outdone when it comes to when they try to play the ball from the back or wherever, if we're being honest. But if you're enjoying the video, please do make sure to subscribe for more analysis and breakdown like this. We'll do Premier League breakdowns, we'll do La Liga breakdowns, and we'll do Champions League breakdowns. So yeah, subscribe. In defense, you can clearly see Chelsea was not playing. It's a man-to-man marking all across the front. They were not joking. Whoever had the ball, no one had an option to get the ball. So Spurs had no choice, but they ended up going forward. But then in a low block, you saw that Chelsea would then switch into this 4-1-4-1 block with Enzo Fernandez. And what he was doing, he was following Maddison everywhere. So his man marking did not just end in the pressing in the final third, but even in the Spurs' final third, like Chelsea's build-up phase, but in that case they were defending, he would still be following him. And then you would have Moises Caicedo either joining the back four and making them a back five. If he wasn't doing that, he was just basically all over trying to cover all the ground, preventing the ball from being played or dangerous chances from being created in and around the box. And another thing, Chelsea they were not joking. If they had to be 10 behind the ball, they did it. 10 men behind the ball, including Jackson. Forget Tuguti were trying to probably counter. Nah. That wasn't on the agenda. The agenda was defend and do not concede at whatever cost. And you can see all of them behind the ball and making sure that they are not conceding. But this did not mean they were defensive, because at some cases, if they were inside their own half, you see that in the way that they are set up, they were set up in such a way that if they do win the ball, the 5 players that I talked about earlier on, that they are the ones who are attackers, basically. They are the ones who are ready to pounce and make those forward runs and basically try and hit Spurs on counter attacks. The other thing that made Spurs very, very bad, or rather that neutralized them, is the fact that if you look here, can clearly see Son Heung-min has the ball. How many people are around him? You have Gusto, you have Enzo Fernandez, and then on top of that, you also have Neto. It was the same thing on the left as well. You'd have Cucurella, you'd have Sancho, and then you'd have Caicedo. Like every time Spurs has the ball, everyone tracks back and they try to win the ball back. So Spurs were just outnumbered in all departments. At the end of the day, you look at the ball position, it's like, oh, 50-50. So this was an equal game. But in terms of tactics, Chelsea looked like they were kind of switching, or rather stopping Tottenham more than Tottenham was stopping them. And we can't end the video without talking about Malo Gusto. This man was everywhere. He started playing as a right back. Then they moved him and made him play as a left midfielder / left winger. And in fact, nothing was happening. Oh, I'm not even mentioning the fact that he was also an inverted fullback. He was doing everything for Chelsea. And the only clear chance that came on the right-hand side of Chelsea was when Malo Gusto had been moved into a left midfielder / left wing position. And it was when Reece James was playing in that position, and Son almost scored, but then Sanchez came up and made a brilliant save. But what did you guys think of the game? Let me know down on the comment section below. Bye.